Virginia Hall, the limping lady who became the Gestapo's most wanted, 1906 to 1982. Virginia Hall was born on April 6, 1906, in Baltimore, Maryland, and died of natural causes on July 8, 1982 at age 76. Before becoming a spy, she lost her left leg in a 1933 hunting accident in Turkey and wore a prosthetic leg she nicknamed Cuthbert. Despite this disability, she became one of the most effective Allied agents in France. The Gestapo described her as the most dangerous of all Allied spies, and desperately hunted her. When escaping over the Pyrenees Mountains into Spain, she radioed London that Cuthbert is being troublesome, and her handlers, not knowing Cuthbert was her artificial leg, replied they would try to help. She was the only civilian woman in World War II to receive the Distinguished Service Cross. Juan Pujol Garcia, the Master of Deception, 1912 to 1988. Born February 14, 1912 in Barcelona, Spain, Juan Pujol Garcia died of natural causes on October 10, 1988, in Caracas, Venezuela at age 76. Codenamed Garbo by the British, he was so brilliant at deception that he created an entire network of 27 fictitious subagents that existed only in his imagination and his reports to the Germans. He invented complete personalities, backstories, and even staged the death of some fake agents when their stories became too complicated. The Germans paid him for all these non-existent spies and trusted him so completely that his false information about D-Day landing locations, convincing Hitler the real invasion at Normandy was just a diversion, helped save thousands of Allied lives. He received both the Iron Cross from Germany and the Member of the Order of the British Empire from Britain, one of the few people to be decorated by both sides. Violette Szabo, the young mother who died a hero, 1921 to 1945. Violette Szabo was born on June 26, 1921, in Paris to a French mother and English father, and was executed by firing squad at Ravensbrück concentration camp on February 5, 1945, at just 23 years old. After her French Foreign Legion husband was killed at El Alamein in 1942, leaving her with a young daughter, she volunteered for the Special Operations Executive to fight the Nazis. On her second mission in France, her group was ambushed by SS troops. Despite being injured, she fought a rearguard action with a Sten gun, allowing her colleagues to escape before her ammunition ran out and she was captured. She was tortured but revealed nothing, and after months of brutal treatment, was executed just weeks before the camp's liberation. She was posthumously awarded the George Cross. Odette Sansom, survivor of torture and concentration camps, 1912 to 1995. Born Odette Marie Céline Braioli on April 28, 1912, in Amiens, France. Odette Sansom died of natural causes on March 13, 1995, in Walton-on-Thames, England at age 82. As an SOE agent in occupied France, she was captured by the Germans in 1943 and subjected to horrific torture, including having her toenails pulled out and being branded with a red-hot poker. She pretended to be married to her circuit organizer Peter Churchill and claimed he was related to Prime Minister Winston Churchill, hoping this would keep them both alive as valuable prisoners. The deception worked, though she spent the rest of the war in Ravensbrück concentration camp under a death sentence as a convicted spy. She was the first woman to receive the George Cross and lived for 50 years after the war, becoming one of the most celebrated agents of World War II. Nancy Wake, the White Mouse, 1912 to 2011, born on August 30, 1912 in Wellington, New Zealand, Nancy Wake died peacefully in her sleep on August 7, 2011 in London, just 23 days before her 99th birthday. She became one of the Gestapo's most wanted people with a 5 million franc price on her head. They called her the White Mouse because she continually slipped through their traps. On one mission, she killed a German sentry with a judo chop to the neck because his proximity made using a gun too dangerous. She later said without remorse that he would have killed her or her men if she hadn't acted. During one bicycle journey to replace lost codes, she rode over 500 kilometers through German checkpoints in 72 hours. She was awarded medals from Britain, France, the United States, and Australia, but remained humble, once saying, "I hate wars and violence, but if they come then I don't see why we women should just wave our men a proud goodbye and then knit them balaclavas." Richard Sorge, the Soviet spy in Tokyo 1895 to 1944. Born on October 4, 1895 in Baku, Azerbaijan, then part of the Russian Empire, Richard Sorge was executed by hanging on November 7, 1944, in Sugamo Prison, Tokyo at age 49. A German communist who spied for the Soviet Union, he operated in Japan disguised as a loyal Nazi journalist. His most crucial intelligence was informing Stalin in 1941 that Japan would not attack the Soviet Union from the east, allowing Stalin to move troops from Siberia to defend Moscow against the German invasion, a decision that may have saved the Soviet capital. He also warned Stalin about the German invasion beforehand, though Stalin initially ignored the warning. The Japanese arrested him in 1941, and despite German requests for his release, the Japanese executed him. The Soviet Union didn't acknowledge him as their agent until 1964, when he was posthumously made a hero of the Soviet Union. Noor Inayat Khan, the gentle pacifist who became a spy, 1914 to 1944. Born on January 1, 1914 in Moscow to an Indian father and American mother, Noor Inayat Khan was executed by a shot to the back of the head at Dachau concentration camp on September 13, 1944 at age 30. Raised as a Sufi pacifist and a published children's author, she nevertheless joined the SOE after France fell. As a radio operator, one of the most dangerous jobs, she was the last remaining link between London and Paris after other agents were captured. Despite orders to return to Britain, she stayed for months, constantly moving to evade detection. When finally captured, she tried to escape twice and was classified as highly dangerous, leading to her being shackled in chains and kept in solitary confinement. Fellow prisoners reported that her last word before execution was "Liberté." She was posthumously awarded the George Cross, and her life represented an extraordinary transformation from pacifist to resistance fighter. Dushko Popov, the Playboy triple agent tricycle, 1912 to 1981. Born on July 10, 1912 in Tidal, Serbia, Dushko Popov died of heart failure on August 18, 1981, in Opio, France at age 69. Codenamed Tricycle by the British, allegedly because of his fondness for three-in-a-bed romances, this wealthy playboy was a double agent who pretended to spy for the Germans while actually working for British intelligence. In 1941, the Germans sent him to the United States with a questionnaire that included detailed questions about Pearl Harbor, which he passed to the FBI. However, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover distrusted him due to his playboy lifestyle, and the warning was not properly acted upon. After the war, Popov claimed he was one of Ian Fleming's inspirations for James Bond. Fleming had worked in naval intelligence and knew of Popov's exploits. Unlike many agents, Popov survived the war and lived comfortably for decades afterward. Christina Skarbek, Christine Granville. Poland's fearless agent, 1908 to 1952. Born Maria Christina Janina Skarbek on May 1, 1908. In Warsaw, Poland, she was murdered by stabbing on June 15, 1952. In London at age 44 by an obsessed former colleague. Using the name Christine Granville, she became Britain's longest-serving female agent, serving from 1939 to 1945. She once skied across the Tatra Mountains to smuggle intelligence out of Poland. When captured by the Gestapo, she bit her tongue until it bled, then convinced her captors she had tuberculosis and would infect them, securing her release. In another legendary exploit, she talked her way into a Gestapo prison and secured the release of 2 agents just hours before they were scheduled to be executed, partly by bribing guards and partly by convincing them the war was nearly over. Tragically, after surviving the entire war, she was killed in peacetime by a rejected suitor in a London hotel, dying in poverty despite her extraordinary service. Eddie Chapman, Agent Zigzag, 1914 to 1997. Born Edward Arnold Chapman on November 16, 1914 in Burnopfield, England, he died of heart failure on December 11, 1997. In St. Albans, England at age 83. Chapman was a pre-war criminal and safecracker who was in prison in the Channel Islands when the Germans occupied them. He offered to spy for Germany, was trained by them, then immediately turned himself into British intelligence and became a double agent. His German handlers believed he was sabotaging British factories when in fact MI5 was creating elaborate deceptions, including fake bomb damage at a factory photographed from the air to convince the Germans his mission succeeded. He was one of the few double agents the British allowed to maintain contact with the Germans after the war ended. Unlike most agents, Chapman embraced publicity after the war, writing books and giving interviews about his exploits, though this damaged his relationship with British intelligence. He lived a long life, dying peacefully at 83, a rare fate among wartime agents.